Hey everybody, I'm here. Today is Tuesday as I'm filming this, but you probably won't see this until Wednesday. I have finished the butterfly. Again, the colors are not showing up true on my camera. I don't know if they will in the video, doubtful. But I have pictures of this in natural daylight, and I will post pictures here. And so this is what I've done. I'll show some close-ups of the beading and the knotting. And I changed out the antennae for bullion knots. This fabric is still shedding. And more beading. I try to cover every little bit of the underneath fabric as I can. So I want to thank everybody for the very kind comments that you left about the butterfly, because it really made a huge difference in my attitude about finishing this up. And I didn't fight with it as much at the end. I figured out how to, like, over here I was moving that and stitching, and I've finagled a way that I move my mat. I'm going to move the camera a little, so I hope this doesn't make you sick. So there's the edge of my table. I move my mat to the edge of the table. I move the hoop off, and I use this old tape dispenser, which has like sand in the bottom of it, and it's very weighted down. So I use it like this, and it's like a hoop stand. I mean, all I do is move my chair back. So that's a little tip for you. If you don't have a hoop stand, see how it's hanging off the edge of the table? There's the edge of the table. And I can go in and out, and I can put this on, you know, I can set this right on there. And it's pretty sturdy. I mean, I do have to be careful, but it's pretty sturdy, and it works for me. And I don't have to spend money on a hoop stand. So, moving you back now so you can see, trying to straighten you up. So, I did finish the back in a different way. Now, I forgot to grab the other one, and if you notice, this is the Anchor brand hoop. Anchor as in like the threads, and other embroidery supplies. This is the Anchor hoop. This is the knockoff that I got on Amazon. And if you see, this one has like a hanging loop at the top. This does unscrew and can come out of there. So this one I had no problem putting, this is batting, not felt, but you know, it was all I had at the time. And what I did was I glued down the inside of the fabric. Then I cut this to size, and I just stitched it, attaching the batting or felt, whatever you use, very small stitches around the edge, just joining them so it's stuck together. Well, if I did that with this one, then there would be no way to hang it, because it does not come with the hanging loop at the top. And so in order to hang it, like if you have a little command hook or a nail in the wall or a thumbtack or whatever, this needed to be inside. So what I did was I measured the outside. I did this before. It's not measured. I took my felt, laid it down on a mat, drew with a friction pen around the outside of the outside hoop. Now, that was a little too big. However, I'd rather go start too big and cut some off, and then be able to size it down, because once you cut it, you can't add to it, right? So basically, this felt is not sewn on at all. If I wanted to, I could pop this right off. This is glued in, but I could pop this right off and show you that the felt catches between the outside hoop and the inside hoop, just as this fabric does. Now, it was a stretch. It was hard to do. These hoops, see, this one would pop off very easily. I could do that. I'm not going to because it's all set on there. I don't want to mess it up. These hoops are practically impossible to pull off. Like, no matter how hard I try, I can't get this to pop out of there. And it's very stressful on my fingers and my hands. And Tony can barely do it. Between the two of us, we have to pull one way and one pulls the other. And eventually we get it. But I don't like them. I don't like them. So he's been stopping in at a Michael's that's on the way between our house and going to see our horse. And he's been checking. So 2.5 weeks ago, he stopped and they had the 6-inch hoops and they only had 2. I thought, ooh, what am I going to do with that? I hemmed and hawed and hemmed and hawed. And I thought, well, I've been wanting to try a butterfly and then I was struggling with it and you all made me feel way better about it. So thank you for that. And then he went Sunday. He usually goes on Thursday, but he went Sunday and he found 4 more 8-inch hoops, which is what this size is. So I'll be making more big hearts. I don't know that I would make a big butterfly. This shape is way harder to fill in, but I guess it turned out okay. I mean, you all gave this really nice compliments, so I'm very appreciative of that. Again, I wish these colors would show up on my camera. The way this is showing up really dark blue, it's not. It's this beautiful teal color. Anyhow, so I'm very happy with the way this turned out, and I used art glitter glue just on the inside frame and tucked this under, and I left just enough to, you can see I used pinking shears, you know, the zigzaggy scissors, and I just went around and tried to tuck the edges under the inside hoop frame as much as I could when I glued it down. And I hand stitched this. Yes, I have to touch it with an iron to get the friction pen off it. So now this can be hung on a wall. Otherwise, these can't be hung on a wall very easily. And I wanted to cover up the back. I could have used another piece of white fabric. I could have used muslin. But you would definitely see, here's a piece of muslin I have here. Our muslin is very thin. I think you would have seen the threads through that. Maybe not. The felt is really thick. It was quite a stretch to get this back on. So it's just a suggestion if you want to try these frames out from Anchor. Get them at Michael's. They're way cheaper. Amazon, they're way more expensive. Don't do it. The Anchor brand. This brand was way cheaper, but extremely difficult to get off. And this one's going to my cousin to give to her sister for her birthday. Okay. So those two, I think I'm done speaking about. Now, y'all came up with some, I don't know where I get y'all from. I don't say y'all. Everyone that suggested future projects, like a traveling project for me, I really appreciate that, those suggestions. Some of them were very nice. I might try one of them, Debbie. I might try the one about the, little landscape squares. I might try that. It's really not my thing. Robin, I know you've done landscape, like postcards, and that's really adorable. I love those. And I might try that at some point. I don't know. I feel like a big failure when I do those kinds of things because I'm not very good at them, like perspective and colors, and I don't know. I just don't feel like I'm very good at them. So I did these. Of course, they're heart-shaped. I saw Annie Claxton on YouTube, A-N-N-I-E Claxton, C-L-A-X-T-O-N. Look her up if you don't follow her. And what I did was I cut out batting. Of course, I really like using batting. I don't know why. It's really easy to sew into. I like the feel of it. It's nice and soft. It's textural for me. Anyhow, she made scrappy string quilts, blocks, little blocks. And I really like the effect that she got. However, I have a real issue with not staying within a color scheme. So this is purple, this is yellow. Hers were very colorful, and I want to do that as well. I haven't decorated these with anything yet. I feel like I want to. Like, I have buttons, and I have some words that I've stamped out on fabrics a long time ago when I was doing junk journaling. And so there's those. Now, the I Found a Quilted Heart project has come up several times. These are more or less like quilted hearts, and I could do these plain ones and back them, put a hanging loop on them with something, ribbon or twine or whatever, and then you attach a little, you can print off from the I Found a Quilted Heart website, a little print out that you can print a whole sheet of and then cut them up, and you can attach them with a pin or a stitch or whatever. And it says something about, you know, if you find me, I'm yours, whatever, whatever. The thing is, I Found a Quilted Heart project has a lot of rules, where you can leave them, where you can't leave them, what you can and cannot put on them. You can't put words, you can't put anything religious, you can't, you know, there's rules, and I understand that. I think that's a good thing. However, I'm a bit of a rebel, and I don't always like following the rules. I feel restricted by that, and I want to do what comes naturally to me. So, I made this yesterday. I was actually making a video. I'll hold it up so you can see it. I was making a video, but the video stunk. It was bad. I did a lot of useless talking and a lot of hemming and hawing, and there were long spaces of time where I was trying to put things together, because I obviously cannot speak, tell a story, and make decisions about what to sew at the same time. It was a horrible video. I edited like a half an hour out of the video, and it was still horrible. So that one's going into the dumpster. But I did this one yesterday, and I really like it. This was supposed to be on there straight, but it's not at all cattywampus, and I'm okay with that. Gotta let go somehow. Now, Annie did the scrappy string quilt, and she made a big wrap out of it, and it's really pretty. Go back. She has a whole playlist of how she did it. I believe her squares, now I didn't go back and check right before I did this, are 2.5 inches. That's tiny. This is a 2.5 inch square. Now, because there's so much fraying on the edges, I cut it just, you know, a nitch bigger. Well, actually, it's not bigger if you don't include these threads, which you can't sew into because they're threads. They're not even woven fabric. That's muslin. And then I did this one out of batting. And it's not very straight, is it? Okay. So I am debating on whether I want to do, sorry, apologies. Again, I cannot talk and do anything at the same time, it seems. I used to be very good at multitasking, not anymore. Okay. Alrighty. That's more like the size, although I'll be trimming them down anyway. And it's not very square, as you can see. Ay, Martha. Ay, caramba. Anyhow. I don't know. This is really tiny, but I guess that's good. And you take your scraps. Now I'm going to put a big box of scraps in front of the camera. And this is my scrappy box. And they're all strips because I used to make dream catchers and wrap the dream catchers. This is the square die that I bought. I don't think these work great in my cutter, but I've been using circles and squares and heart dies, to cut out a lot of things. Circles, hearts, and squares. So I pulled out the square ones and I found the 2.5-inch one. I'm thinking, oh, yeah, that's small. However, I don't know whether to do it on the batting or on the muslin. I'm thinking if I do it on the batting, I don't know. I wouldn't make a quilt out of it, but I could use it for something down the road. I don't know what. But she and Susie Q Makes, Susan from Susie Q Makes, she also made a bunch of squares and put them together, and I can't remember what she did with it. She made a pouch, I think, or something, which she's really good at. Susie makes wonderful projects of all sorts, from using from beautiful journals to beautifully sewn stuff that she sells on her Etsy store, to beautiful pouches and stuff like that, to journal covers, to, you know, she does jelly printing on fabric and paper, and she's just awesome. She's a very talented lady, even though she doesn't think she is, and she doesn't give herself credit for it. However, I disagree with her, which is fine. So I haven't decided which I'm going to do yet. I want to keep going with the hearts, but I don't know what I would do with them. These I could, like I said, do the quilted heart I found a quilted heart project. I might, I don't know. But this is for traveling, and I think I can put together a box of strips. And my only problem with that is that, sorry, I dropped some things. I was bent over getting them. Is that I think, I'm doing that umming thing again. It'll be hard for me because I want to bring along the threads that match the strip colors. The other thing that's hard is there's a lot of colors in here, like there's orange and pink, but I don't have a lot of each one. My biggest struggle will be mixing the colors on a square. So I think this might be my travel project besides the hearts I'm going to from the 100-day project I did back at the beginning of the year. You would think I wouldn't want to make any more hearts after that, but I really enjoyed making these the last couple of days. But the scrappy strip patchy things are kind of fun. I do struggle with getting both edges down. Now, normally when you would do this, you would lay your fabric on. Okay. You would lay your fabric on like this, and then you would lay the next strip on face down like this, sew it, attach the two, and then bring that up like that, okay? And then you would take your third scrap and you would put it down, making sure to cover your edges. See, this one doesn't cover the edge, so you have, when you flip it, so you have to move it like that. Then you would put this edge down, sew it along here, and you have to make sure it's long enough. Sew it along so you're getting both edges in there. Then fold that up, and that would go like that. That's your typical way if you don't want loose fraying edges. However, I don't mind loose fraying edges. I like the kind of boho-ness of that. So say I did, you know, pulled this out and I started that in the middle. Now, I would probably use thinner strips because at this size, I would be done, you know, with 3 strips. And then you got that one. And my thing is I get very frugal, so I don't overlap them enough, because when they're thin like this, if you overlap them a lot, then you're losing the, you know, the skinny ones like that. Now it becomes really skinny. However, you really have to overlap them a lot, because then you sew along this edge and you sew along this edge, and then whatever's here, you sew along that edge. So my deal is trying to get all these colors mixed up. It does my head in. I'm not a multicolored girl. I'm very much monochromatic. In case you haven't figured that out, I like working with one color at a time. However, when you put these colorful ones together, it's really kind of cool. Like you can use, like I could use ribbon right there, but by the time I cover that ribbon up with whatever's last, say this piece here, I'm covering up half the ribbon. However, that shouldn't matter. Then you go around and cut the edges. So instead of yammering on about it, maybe I should try and do one, right? So I'm just going to pull, I gotta find strips that'll work. And I'm not trying to find specific colors, I'm just trying to find sizes. So, and not have duplicates. So I think what I'm going to have to do is make some more fabric strips. I think that's one of the things I'm going to have to do. Okay, those little ones might work. All right, let's see. So if I put that there, I don't want to use the ribbon, and I put, it's not long enough. All right, I'm going to, but if you have little pieces like that, as long, like that yellow is not covering what it needs to cover, there. And then I put the white down, and then I put the orange over that, and you put them at a diagonal, let go, so that, and they shouldn't all be the same size. You don't need them all the same size. Turn it over, Martha. And then I would take the yellow, put it over the orange, and then I think I want the blue down here. And I think I'll take the batik, leave enough on the ends, because you know when you sew, they do and then you'll go around and cut all the, you know, all the edges after. This one will fit up there. Is that the right side? Yes. Right side of fabric. And then I need one more. So then there's that one. But it doesn't, like if I overlap it enough, I've got that little tiny bit showing there. So let me find, you can cut it, you can tear it, you can do whatever floats your boat. There, okay. So you do that, you stitch it down, and then you trim around the edges, and then when you've got enough of them, now I could use just a neutral thread, so I may try that and see how much I like it or hate it. I was going to say how much I hate it. That is foreboding. I don't want to do that. I don't want to assume I'm going to hate it. So let's just give this a shot. Now, what I did learn with the heart was to do the outside edge first. I don't know that that's going to help the square any. And when you do the outside edge first, as I found on the 100-day project, it's sort of, it makes the heart curl. Can you see how that kind of curls a little bit? Instead of doing from the inside out. If you do the inside out, then it's less likely to curl on you. And since I have these little tiny pins, I could sort of go like this. And then when I start stitching, I have stories to tell you. So if you've seen this already, of course you don't have to stick around, but if you want to hear my stories, then stick around. I think that'll help, or hurt, one way or the other. I'm not sure which. Okay, now I'm not going to do decorative stitches. I'm just going to do like straight stitches, and I'm going to start, it's really hard. It's almost like I want to sew from the back. I'm going to start on this edge. Whoopsies. Because the back is really where you're trying to stay on your backing fabric and not go off like I just did there. And I'm not really concerned with how tiny the stitches are. I just want to get it stitched down, right? Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is come up here on the edge, but I also want to catch both of these fabrics. Okay, and yeah, I know it seems a little fiddly, but you do one or two and then it's better. You get a rhythm going and you kind of figure it out. It's a little like burrow stitching. And if you're using fabric scraps or reclaimed fabric, it's a really easy way to put stuff together. And this is going to be totally like random. Now, I'm going to do one like this, or I might do two like this. Probably not on camera because, yeah, I'm not trying to lose subscribers. I'll probably turn the camera off, go away, do a couple of these, and I'll do a couple in the multicolored, and then I might do a couple that are same colors. And I think it's going to have the same effect. And if it doesn't, I'm going to probably convince myself that it will have the same effect when you put four of them together. That's basically what you do. Okay, and then I would go back down this way, trying to catch both fabrics. Now, whether I'm catching both fabrics or not, I don't know. I may not have overlapped them enough. What do I know? I know nothing. So, if you know where that saying came from, what show that came from, leave it in the comments below. All right, so here's my story. As of today, we were supposed to be on the road. Oopsies. But we're not, as you can tell. I'm sitting at my desk. And the reason is because over the last 5 days, since probably since today's Tuesday, probably for a week now, I've been checking the weather on my weather app, which is the Weather Channel app. Now, as you can see, there's going to be a gap up here. I'll go back and do those later. So the weather app kept saying it was going to be anywhere. It kept fluctuating from one day to the next. See how I'm getting a gap in there now? That's because that slipped out of a pin. I think I can take this pin out. Probably take that pin out. And probably should put a pin in there. Put a pin in it. So I kept checking the weather app for not only our weather, where we live, but also the weather for where we were headed. And our first stop was going to be somewhere in Pennsylvania. And the weather kept, now see, you could use little invisible stitches too. You don't have to use big yucky stitches like I'm doing. I'm almost thinking I might do small stitches and then do decorative stitches later. I know I'm jumping from doing this to my story, and that's just how I roll. So I'm all turned around now. This is supposed to be under that. Right? Yeah. That is supposed to be under this one. Sure, I will pull this out and repair that. It doesn't really matter, like, you know, one little strip out of all of these, probably nobody would notice, but yeah, it is me after all. Hello, it's me. I'm the problem. But I'm not a problem. I just like what I like. So, on we go. Onward and upward. And away we go. Okay, if you know what that show was, leave it in the comments below. I kept checking the Weather Channel, and it kept saying it was going to be 98, 97. One day it said it was going to be 100 all this week. Like for all this week. There were, at one point when I checked, the days this week said it would be 100 here and 100 at the campground we are headed towards in Pennsylvania. There's not much difference between 98 and 100, honestly. Especially since when we deal with humidity here, 98 can make it feel like 102, you know, or worse. So I kept bringing it up to Tony, and I'd say, wow, they're saying it's going to be 97 on this day. Wow, now they're saying it's going to be 100 on this day. Wow, now it's going to be, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I kept saying that. So finally, by Friday, I brought it up Friday night. Oh, Martha, see, I can't talk and do stuff at the same time. I just can't. It's impossible. I am an idiot when it comes to that. By Friday, when I brought it up Friday night, now we're supposed to leave today, Tuesday. It's not Tuesday when you're seeing this, so don't get confused. But I am not happy. Just let me work this out. Sorry. This is so bad. Oh, Martha. Okay. Pin better than I did, trust me. Do your pinning. Be diligent about pinning, because I did not obviously do a good enough job. And it's slipping and sliding and making me twitch here. So I'm going to pin better. All right, I'm just pinning those. That's going to fall off anyway. When I brought it up Friday night, he's like, that's it. We just can't go. We cannot travel. And so mind you, it's not just here, but it's the next stop, and then the next stop. The heat, you know, was going to go on. It wasn't just here. And he said to me, we just can't go. We can't travel in this heat. I didn't argue with him. I was very anxious about traveling in that kind of high heat. And it's not just traveling. When we get to the campground, we can plug in. Yeah, we have an air conditioner, but it's going to be near 100 degrees. And a little RV only has one air conditioner on the roof, and a van is like being in a tin can. It's a Ram ProMaster van, and it's not very well insulated. When it was built, the company that built it didn't do a great job that year of insulating. They've gotten better since. Their newer models are more well insulated than the current models. Let's see. However, this one is not very well insulated, and I've tried to convince Tony that we can do some insulation that would make it better, but that would involve taking parts off, and he's very against doing that. So we have not insulated. So he said, I just don't see how we can travel in this weather. And I agreed with him. I said, well, I certainly don't want to. And I think it's crazy if we take off on Tuesday. And it's supposed to be in the 90s all the way through Friday or Saturday. So we weren't going to take off. We just decided we're not going to take off. We got up the next morning. We worked on there's a website that we go on that we pay for that helps you trip plan. And we went onto that website, we looked at the trip, looked up the campgrounds. He had already made reservations at 3 campgrounds. So he got on the phone and he rescheduled those 3 reservations. However, when he got to the 3rd one, it was going to end up being a weekend, because now instead of leaving on a Tuesday or a Monday, he wants to leave on a Wednesday, which I'm a little upset about, because Monday and Tuesday are supposed to be nice weather. Low 80s, sunny. I really wanted to leave on Tuesday, but not my choice. So I let him have that one. And he called the 3rd campground. They can't change our reservations because they don't have anything available on a weekend. It's a very busy campground in Massachusetts, and a lot of people go there. Is that? No. A lot of people go there for football games, American football games. And yeah, so this is very hard. Well, too much flipping back and forth. I'll just do it from the back till I get to the point where I want to stitch that one down. All right, you have to be under there, White. There. And what we ended up doing was making a reservation for later in the month for our return trip, so that we didn't lose the money on that reservation. Then I spent the next, I don't know, 2-3 hours researching another campground that didn't have horrible reviews. And we really can't find one. So we are going to drive straight from New York to Massachusetts, and it's going to be a tough drive for us. We aren't good at long distance driving anymore. We used to be. One time we drove 19 hours straight through from Kansas to, and that was 2 weeks after I had a baby and I had a broken tailbone. And there was no sympathy from anybody about my broken tailbone and sitting for 19 hours. It was horrible. But anyway, things have changed. I speak up for myself way better now than I ever used to. And we just don't travel long distances well anymore. Anyhow, now we are going to leave Wednesday, and we've made reservations as far as we can. And then we'll be staying at my cousin's house for 3 nights, I think it is. And we'll be staying at a friend's house for 1 night. And then we'll see what happens from there. I don't want to make reservations any further out than that. Tony gets really freaked out that we're not going to be able to find places to stay. And I said, if that happens, we can always go back to my cousin's house and stay in her driveway. Or we can go to my other friend's house who is on the coastline and stay in her driveway. She's already letting us stay there. Then that friend, she posted that she's having trouble with skunks. And I'm thinking, we might not be staying in her driveway after all. The last thing we need is to have skunk smell in the van. I have to close my curtain. I'll be right back. It is so hot. It's 97 today, and we have air conditioning, but when I close the door to the bedroom and have that curtain open, I don't know if you can see my hand, but it's sweaty. I'm sorry. You probably didn't want to know that, right? Yeah, so we are set to go next week. The weather's going to be okay. However, it's supposed to rain a lot when we're at my cousin's house, sitting in her driveway. It's supposed to rain a lot. So that's not going to be pleasant. It's going to be hard to do the things we want to do when it's raining. But we can go inside my cousin's house. Her husband's having some health issues, and they live in, I think the house is, I don't know, I think it's about 900, maybe 1,000 square feet. I don't think it's 1,000 square feet, to be honest. It's teeny tiny. It's a house from the 1800s. But they also have a barn that they made a little studio apartment in. It does not have a bathroom, but we have a bathroom in the van, or we could go in the house. We could spend some time in there if we're going a little stir crazy. It doesn't have a kitchen, but doesn't have air conditioning. But it is supposed to be cooler that week when we're going to be there. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be in the 60s and low 70s, which is Fahrenheit. But yeah, so I'm happy about that. Now, I'm not even looking at the front. I'm just stitching this down. You could use regular sewing thread and just do I forgot the name. Anyway, it's where you stitch little teeny tiny stitches on the front and bigger stitches on the back. And you could do that if you wanted to. You can do it any way you want because it's your project. Right? So now, I've loved earth science ever since high school. I am not a science geek. I am not I'm not good at math. I'm not great at science. However, they made us, it was during the 70s, they bused us to other schools and bused inner city kids to our school, and it was a mess. Anyway, the school I went to for 1 year, 1 year I went to that school, had an earth science class, and I absolutely loved it. And I've sort of been like a weather watcher ever since then. And then when, you know, you could start watching the radar online and stuff like that, I became a big fan of that. Anyhow, I'm always checking the weather. And now there's talk of a hurricane coming. And guess where the hurricane's going to hit? The hurricane is supposed to hit North Carolina, Virginia, which is, hello, that's where I live, and then work its way north, all the way up to Maine. And guess when that hurricane is supposed to hit? 2 weeks from now. Guess who's going to be in all of those states along the coast 2 weeks from now? In fact, at one point, the place we're supposed to stay in Massachusetts is right there on the coast, and we were going to go to Cape Cod. Because I've never, ever, ever, in all of my travels to New England, have ever been to Cape Cod, and I've always wanted to go. I've always wanted to go to Martha's Vineyard, too. So, yeah. So now there's supposed to be a freaking hurricane. Now, that doesn't look like much from the front, but when you cut it down, try not to cut the backing, and I'm leaving just the teeniest edge. You don't want to cut your sewing threads. Now you've got all these little bits. I hope Annie shows what she's going to do with her little bits after a while. There. Now, isn't that adorable? I like that. And it's a lot more work than I thought it was going to be for a 2.5-inch square. So I think 2.5 inches is a good way to do it. Now, I'm going to do at least one more, maybe 3. And then I'm going to do 4 that are like same colored, like either all blue or all tan or all something. I don't know. And see which one I like. So I'll be back when I get that done. This may air on Wednesday. It may air on Thursday. I don't know. It depends on how quickly I can get all of these squares done. But I'm going to work my little fingers to the bone, and I'll be back to show you immediately for you. Probably hours of work for me. Okay, I'm back. Here are the results. This is the pack of 4 of the multicolored squares, and this is the pack of 4 of blue ones. And shockingly, I like the multicolored ones more. So there you go. You never know. All right, I will put these out. Now, if you lay them out with all of the fabric slanted in the same direction, this is what that looks like. However, if you rotate so that they're in a V, that's what that looks like. And if you rotate them, I don't know if there's another way to rotate them. And you can do it so that you're happy with the coloration results. Like if I switch that around, is that right? Yeah, that's a different look there. If you rotate them that way, you've got that. That's them going the same way. That's them going in a V down like that. But if you rotate these around, nope, one too many. There, you're back to that. But see, that gives me 3 yellows in the corner and a blue. If I switch this around and I wanted all the yellow, and I didn't do that purposely. I didn't pay attention to what I was putting where. So there's the yellows in the corner. Here's 3 with blue in the corner, and then there's that blue. So there's a lot of ways you can mix these up and put them together. And if you had like 20 of these. You could mix and match them every way you wanted. Let me show you the blue. And I did learn something along the way here as well. Is that right? That way, that way, that way, that way. Okay. Now see, I don't like those two together, but if I did this, I could do that. I could do that. And when you sew these down to your backing and you sew over them, you're going to, all these gaps will close up. Plus you're going to embellish them. Well, I'm going to embellish these and, you know, I'm going to do special stitches over them, like the fly stitch and, you know, blanket stitches and stuff like that. And it's going to give me a stitching surface to work on, which I think what I'm going to work on is for the next few days, I'm going to work on either the colored or the blue. I do like the blue. I don't hate it. This is just so cheerful. I may save this as a winter project. So I did on my last one. I was getting tired last night. By the time I ate dinner and we cleaned up and, you know, made dinner, ate dinner, cleaned up, and I had worked on these all afternoon. And so yeah, today's the next day from the first part of the video. But I made my strips a lot wider because you can see on some of these, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strips on here. That gets to be a lot. If you make them wider, some narrower, it's much easier. You're not like trying to, oh, I didn't stitch that down. I missed one. Whoopsies. I'll go back and do that. But I did stitch them all down. However, as you can see here, most of the stitches are very hard to see. They're tiny, tiny, tiny. I'm weird. I've always enjoyed tiny, tiny hand stitches. When I was a teenager, I used to find fabric, I don't know, in my mother's stash maybe. I don't know. Maybe old jeans. I don't know where I found it. I didn't do it a lot because there wasn't a lot of supplies, but I would spend hours cutting out. I saw a purse I liked. It was like a slouch purse. And I think I found some dark blue thin wale corduroy. And I hand stitched that thing, and I hand stitched the shoulder handle for it. I hand stitched the whole, and I did teeny tiny stitches. When I did do some quilting, I don't quilt much anymore. I don't like it. It's big and difficult. But anyway, when I was hand quilting, my favorite part was hand sewing the binding onto the front after machine sewing it onto the back. I mean, I'm weird. I love teeny tiny little stitches. Maybe it's from a past life. I don't know. Anyhow, so this did not bother me. Those got, like I said, I was getting tired when I did these last two. But so some of the stitches got away from me. I used this neutral colored thread, and I did what's called blind stitches. So really long stitches on the back, and like practically when I came up, I practically but tried not to go down in the same hole. So like there are teeny tiny stitches there, but yeah, and there are teeny tiny stitches even on this one. There, light is shining on them. So I found that I liked this method way better than using the, this is size 8. I guess if I got a size 12, I could use this type of thread, but I didn't like this. I may rip all those stitches out and do the regular, this is sewing thread that I get at Joann's. It comes in a big fat bobbin. And like right now, I think, don't quote me on this, but I got an email this morning that said that I think you can buy three threads and get 2 free or something like that. And I used to use this on the ephemera folios when we were making and selling those. And I just like the effect way more. Big stitches on the back, small stitches on the front. And then when I put this on a backing, say I put it on a muslin backing like this, and get all this other stuff. Oops, that went flying. Let me get all these things out of the way a little bit. I put that on there, and I mean, even if I mixed them up, I could mix them up. I probably won't. I'll save the solid colors or the bright colors, one or the other, for maybe a winter project. But even if you mixed them up and you did, I might be off, no, I'm not off screen. Okay. And you did like that, and then you did, nope. I gotta get the V's going the right way. So that's that. And then I can't look at that one. I have to look at this one. And I did that, or I get all, like my brain and eyes don't work together. But look how pretty that looks. They don't look that bad on camera if I mixed them up. I kind of like that. So even if you did that and then you did the other side, like this muslin is folded over, even if I did that, think of what a pretty pouch that would be. Or, you know, heck, I could make a lap quilt out of it if I went crazy enough. But yeah, you could make a pillow cushion cover just using this one piece of muslin. Look how pretty that'd be. This is ruler. This is 21 inches this way, and 26 inches this way. So 21 by 26. I mean, I could make a couple of pouches. Whatever you could make. I mean, this could be folded in half, and that could be the front, that could be the back, and that could be a pouch. So you could make a myriad of things. You can make journal covers. You can make, let me move this back on screen. You can make whatever you wanted with that. So anyhow, I do like the way they're coming out, but I will take these stitches out. I will be using this sewing thread. Whether I will take this whole project with me, I could pre-cut the quilted backs. I could just decide what I'm going to take with me as far as strip colors. Like, I've used these and made these 4, but I don't have a lot of this fabric left. So now I'm going to have to use other colors. So do I pick a color scheme like the blues and just strip all blues? Do I pick some blues and greens and yellows, reds, and mix them? I don't know. But these 4 and these 4, unless I go with the blue theme, I'll have to put a whole totally different project together to make a bigger project out of colors that match. I'm not going to start with these colors and then go to green and blue and purple and whatever I've got. My scrap box has a lot of neutrals in it, and I don't want to get hung up using the neutrals. So I may pull scraps out of there and then pull other fabrics that match them with different patterns and stuff on them. I haven't decided that yet. I want something easy and small to take with me, but something that I could work on. Now, if I did a bunch of these before I leave, which I have a week or so before I leave, I mean, there's other things to be done, but if I did make a bunch of these, what I could do is take with me the threads and the buttons and the lace. Just take a bag of that stuff, ribbons, stuff like that, that I want to take to embellish these with, and just start embellishing them. But I think in order to do that, I have to have it on the backing, and if I don't know what project I'm making out of all of these, then that's kind of a lost cause. That's my process on that. The other thing I just want to share with you very quickly is that I am, sorry, I turned around, did not prepare this ahead of time. I am going to be working on a project that Corinne from To Be Loved Treasures by Corinne is starting. She's doing a seasonal stitch along. So spring, summer, fall, winter. Choose fabrics that suit those seasons, and you can stitch along. And what she's doing is you can make panels. She's using rolling pins, antique rolling pins, that she's going to hang on the wall. That seems complicated to me, to hang those on a wall. You'd have to have big hooks sticking out of your wall to hold the handles. So I'm not doing that. Besides, I don't have those. However, sorry, give me 1 second. I had something in my mouth I didn't want there. However, somebody mentioned that they're going to do it, and they are going to use picture frames. And that gave me an idea. I have those, not the 6 by or 8 by 8 inch square ones, but I have, I think 8 by 10, or yeah, I think they're 8 by 10 canvas frames downstairs. And if I work on my project, again, where's my ruler? If I work on my project and I make my panels like maybe 10 by 12, and don't do the an inch at the top and an inch at the bottom, that would give me the overlap in order to staple it onto the canvas. And then we could hang one up every season. So I have 2 autumnal or fall, depending on what you call it where you are, type fabrics. I absolutely love this one. This is from several years ago, and I have not seen it back in Joann's again. I love this one. I like this one a lot, but I love this one. So I'm thinking this may be my base fabric, and this I may glean pieces from for adding in here. Like I could take these little flowers and add them in here. Corinne's got tons of ideas. I'm going to put the link to her video about this in my description box below. So please check that out. Check out her video, check out her channel. I also have, I got these 10 by 10 squares back in when Tuesday Morning was still around. Kicking myself I didn't buy 2 of them when they had them, and Tuesday Morning is no longer around. And I used that store as a resource for a lot of things, and I sorely miss it. At very good prices, I might add. So I have these. Now, these could sort of be tiny flowers that are cut out also to kind of come up here, and like I could cut this out and just stitch that in there if I fussy cut it. This one might be more suited. Let me put these together and get them out of the way, because that's all the autumn fabric I have, I think. This one would be a beautiful summer one. I have this fabric, but it's very crowded and very bright. There's a little bit of white in here, but I thought for the summer, if I took like a rose like that, of course it's not a whole one. These are the only, well, there's this one, and this one that are real whole roses. But there's also these little flowers in here, like this little bunch right here. I could take that and I could put that, tuck that in somewhere and stitch it down, but it's got a totally different background. So I may use this as something to fussy cut from. I don't know yet, because it's very crowded and very bunched together. Corinne's fabrics are more like this, where there's a lot of open space and you can add stitching, you can add little things in there. And she has some prompts that she's sharing as well. I'd like to do that, but this is only 10 by 10, so I don't think this will fit on the canvas. I also have to do a spring one. And I think these are really pretty for spring. You know, what's the difference? Spring and summer. Spring has little flowers, little buds, little things coming out. I also have this one that has, it's the same as this, but a totally different colored background. I don't have the packaging anymore. I don't know who made this fabric. Can't get any more of it. So there's that. But to me, this is more spring-like, whereas this is almost more summery, and that's more summery, but I feel like this is very busy. I have this, but I will use this to fussy cut butterflies out of, and maybe like do this kind of thing, you know, include the flower. I don't know. I mean, it has lots of different colors of butterflies on it. And of course I have tons of, well, not tons, I have some other fabrics with stuff on it, and I'll explain why I need that. I need that because these are these sort of prompts. Inclusions is a better word for me. Fabrics that invoke a seasonal feeling for you, fall or autumn, winter, spring, and summer. I have nothing for winter. I have no idea what I'm going to do for winter. None at all. I've been looking at fabric a couple times when we went to Joann's, and I found one that was sort of okay. I don't know. But anyway, she said the inclusions are going to be lace, threads, ribbons, additional flowers and to add dimension, critters, birds, squirrels, rabbits, frogs, you know, whatever you have in your area, bees, you know, stuff like that. Background fabric, if needed. If your fabric is very busy like this one, you can actually cover up this with bits of background, like tiny bits of background fabric, and add those in and then put something on top of that. So I could do that with this. And a poem. She wants you to either write your own or use one and stitch it on, hand stitch it on somewhere on the project. However, if you take one off the internet or from a book that you love and it's someone else's, she wants you to put their name underneath it stitched so that it's giving credit to the person that the poem was created by. So those are the add-ins. Go watch her video. She does a much better job of this. I do have, let me pull the bin. I do have this bin, and I have this fabric that I recently picked up from Joann's that I really like. And this is very, this could sort of be a winter fabric. And then it would give me a lot of space to add in the flowers. I just don't know what to add. I'm in the Northeast USA. Well, not the Northeast by technicality. I'm in Virginia, and we have a cold winter, and plants don't grow during the winter here except maybe pine trees and holly. And so I'm not really sure what to do for winter. So looking at this, I could probably figure something out, but there are berries on here. I mean, this berry would make sense for winter, more or less. It's not holly, but the other berries wouldn't really make sense for winter. I can also fussy cut this fabric. So there's that. I have more butterflies and more butterflies, of course. And I have little butterflies. I have bees, little bees, teeny tiny bees. I have bigger bees. I have beehives. I have more bees. This was all stash fabric, almost all of it. And I have more butterflies, of course, and more butterflies. And I have dragonflies, of course. And, oh, look, more butterflies. I have these owls, but I don't think they'd fit into what I want to do very well. And did I mention more butterflies? But I don't think I'm going with a purple theme, so I don't think I'll include those at all. And then this is some more of that other fabric that I can fussy cut from to get butterflies instead of cutting into a larger piece. So I'm going to leave those in the bin to correlate with that. Now, if you have any suggestions for what I could do for a northeast type of winter, I have this too, little tiny flowers, so I might put that in there. I'm not going to put these green butterfly fabrics in there. Maybe I will. So all of this is going, not all of it. I'm not going to put that in there. I'm not going to, I might put that in there. I don't think I'll use that. I like these bees. I hate to cut into that though, and fussy cut. I like those bees. I don't know if I'll use these butterflies. I might tear a little strip of fabric off for that and that. All right, back to what I was asking you. See, I told you I can't do two things at once. If you have any suggestions, oh, I'm sorry, you probably can't hear me. If you have any suggestions about what I could do for a winter themed panel, could you let me know? I just don't know. I'm really unsure of what to use. Now, she did say the other thing you can do is start with like a piece of muslin and then collage the items on there that you want. So if I found fabric with, say, a holly berry bush on it, I could fussy cut that out, put it on a background. Or I could, you know, maybe start with this and put it on it. We do have cardinals. I think that's a female cardinal, I think. That's a blue jay. We don't have those in the winter, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. We do have blue jays and cardinals. But I think these guys might disappear. We do have these in the summer, but I think they disappear in the winter. I don't know what that one is. So I could fussy cut things out and collage them together. I'm not as good at it as she is by far. She is like a magician when it comes to collaging fabric. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. But if you have suggestions, could you let me know in the comments below? And I appreciate it. So I'm going to close out this video for now. I will put the description of this project down in my, I will put the link for this project for Corinne's video down in my description box. And I will see you in the next one. I'm not sure when that'll be or what it'll consist of. But right now, a lot of things are up in the air for me as far as projects. I want to get started on this. Let me just say, she is in Australia, so they are going into spring. She's, I think, working on her spring one. The problem is, each season she's taking 3 months to do it. So the videos will be very spaced apart. And we're going into fall. And if I do a fall one, by the time winter gets here, I'll have the fall one done. If I could do a winter one, then by the time winter got here, I could hang it up. But the fall one, I would have to put it away. So I don't want to work on the current season we're in, like fall, autumn. I don't want to work on that right now. I want to work on either winter, spring, or summer. I need to start one of those and work on it. And summer, I'm very confused because, like I said, this fabric is very, very busy. And I could start it with, oh, now I'm pulling all this box apart. What happened to that fabric? Well, you saw it, the one with the rose on it. If I started with that one, then it would be wonderful, but I don't think, I mean, I can't make it on this size. So I would have to, I really like those. But does that evoke summer? I don't know. It certainly doesn't evoke winter for me. Corinne has a fabric similar to this that she got from, and my brain just went blank. She talks about it in her video. She has a winter fabric she got from her friend. And it is very much this sort of thing. and the roses are very pale like this. But we don't, she's in a different climate. We don't have that kind of climate here. So any help you can give me, any suggestions, ideas? I mean, the problem is I have to find the fabric. I have to find the fabric. I don't want it to be like Santa Clauses and elves and, you know, Christmas trees. I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be floral because the other three are going to be floral. And I don't want it to be so out of touch with the other three that I'm doing. Not that anybody else is ever going to see all four of them together, because they won't be hanging at the same time. Anyhow, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thanks for being here. And go over and check Corinne out and see if you want to join in. It's one of those projects that you work on it a little bit when you have nothing else to work on, and then you put it away until the next week when you want to work on it again. And watching her videos will give you a lot of inspiration. So thanks for being here, everybody. Take care. I hope you're doing well. And Kim, I'm keeping you in my thoughts. Sorry about your mom. Robin, happy birthday. Love you, girl. Talk to you later, everybody. Bye.